Hello, this is Group 7, and this is our New York City Taxi Fare Estimator. A little bit of background about the data that we used for our project. This is our data spreadsheet. The data we collected came from the New York City Taxi and Limousine Commission. They gather data on millions of taxi rides within New York City, and they collect basically everything you can think about that goes into a taxi ride, whether that be the pickup time, the drop-off time, the number of passengers in the car, the latitude and longitude of the locations, the fare amount, the tip amount, and everything else you can think of. So now going into the user part of this fare estimator. When the user opens up the fare estimator, this is the page that they're directed to. This has a little bit of background about what the fare estimator is, how to use it, how it works. And once the user has read the directions and has also gathered the data about the trip that they're planning on taking, they can go ahead and get started by pressing the start button here. So this page is where the user is going to spend most of their time. This is where they'll input all the data about their trip, and this is where they'll receive fare estimates both for taxi and Ubers. And this is also where they can visualize the data about the trip that they're about to take. So the first thing that the user does is select the starting location, and this is broken down first by a region within New York City that they're planning on taking. So we'll start out with the Upper West Side, and next it goes into a specific location within that region. So in this situation, the user is going from the Lincoln Center to, they also select this data about the ending location. So in this we'll do the Upper East Side, and we'll go to the Central Park Zoo. So the location is Lincoln Center to Central Park Zoo. Next the user inputs the payment type. They can either choose cash or credit. We'll choose cash. And the next input that the user can do is whether there's an Uber surge or not. Sometimes when there's a big event going on or there's a ton of demand, Uber will surge their prices, and so the user can input anywhere from 1 to 3.5 for Uber surges. The default is 1. Usually there is not a surge. The next thing the user can do is put in a tip amount. Ubers don't tip, and so this is only for taxis, and this is up to the user's discretion, anywhere from 0 to 20%. We'll put in 10% for now. And now that all the inputs are in, the next thing that the user has to do is estimate the fares by hitting this button. So the first thing you see is a taxi fare estimate up at the top and also an Uber fare estimate. Whichever one is lowest, you'll see a little pop-up box that tells you which one to take. And so in this case it says you should take a taxi. Your estimated fare is $5.92. You can tell that is lower than the $7 fare for Ubers. And then since it told us to take a taxi, it also says what the tip would be. In this case, 59 cents since it's a short trip. If the other outputs that this tool gives is a time estimate in minutes of how long the trip will take, in this case 4 minutes, and it is a 1-mile trip. This also has the current time on it, and this is important because maybe the user is not planning on taking the trip right at this moment, and if they are not, then they can click here to see graphs of when the best time of day to take this trip is. So now that the graphs have updated, you can see that the fare amount is going to be lowest at 7 o'clock at night, and the average duration of the trip will also be lowest at 7 o'clock at night. And once this button is clicked, these graphs will filter down the data to just the starting location and ending location of the trip, and it will tell over the course of the day what these estimates will be. And the last thing the tool does is it maps out the locations. So if you hit this button, then you can see on a map where you're starting out at the Lincoln Center and where Central Park Zoo is, and you can take a look briefly at the streets you're likely to take and how long the trip will be. And that is our taxi fare estimator.